Hello and welcome to our presentation about creativity and the application of Broffenbrenner by Lorraine, Xun and Xu Ting.
So, what is creativity? According to fields, no consensus exists about how creativity is defined. However, for the purpose of this presentation, we will follow the definition provided by Chris Samhari, who suggests creativity is a complex and systematic phenomenon and occurs between a person's thoughts and a social cultural context. This brief is crucial to Broffenbrenner's series of etiologic systems, as it focuses upon the environmental impact on development. In order to understand it, imagine a person is made up of a set of Russian dolls. These different layers represent different levels of an individual's environment. The layers we are going to focus on are the exosystem, which is closest to the outside. It considers settings that indirectly impact a child's environment. For example, national school policy. Further in is a macrosystem, which is a child's immediate environment. Here, we discuss the structure of school environment and learning opportunities, and the core system, the individual child. In this video, we are going to analyze how these layers of environment impact a child's creative development, with the focus on the classroom environment and the role of the teacher.
The child. When we consider creative individuals, we often think of what Kraft refers to as big C contributors, leaders of their fields which impact the world, such as Beethoven or Van Gogh. However, she suggests that every child is capable of little c creativity. These are everyday innovations that lead to the idea which is novel or useful to the individual rather than the world. When supporting creativity, it is therefore important to consider the individual's ability and progress to enable them to meet their individual potential. Teachers can adopt a child-centered approach, which, as the Saatchi Ministry of Education points out, this approach to learning views children as active participants who are capable and competent learners. Ryan suggests one advantage of this is that students are provided with educational opportunities to explore, investigate, and seek answers to relevant questions, therefore empowering children to be creative and critical thinkers. Thus, throughout our presentation, we will refer to the child-centered approach and adapt solutions to creativity to the individual child, because they are not only the heart of the ecological systems, but at the heart of creative expression. The exosystem. Assessments were introduced following the introduction of the national curriculum to schools in England and Wales under the Education Reform Act 1988. The effect of such education policy suggested by Wiseman and McCaughey is a culture where successes are celebrated and failures are punished. Imagine this, a normal classroom with cheerful faces. The teacher asked the students to draw a tree. Some students were talented, most okay, and others struggle. Let's consider the child who got an F despite giving their best effort. As we can imagine, they are upset. According to the classical conditioning theory proposed by Pavlov, repeated negative experiences such as this can cause negative associations, effectively causing children to avoid taking risks and expressing themselves creatively and trying their best in the future. The effect of this aversion to risk and failure has consequences for the growth and learning, which can be seen in Dweck's research that describes the differences between two common mindsets, fixed versus growth. Unfortunately, the fixed mindset is commonly cultivated in education in how we approach mistakes, grades, and failures. This is problematic for the creative practice and development of children. One way to address this barrier mindset, which is negatively impacted by national test policy, is finding ways to promote creative activities that promote risk-taking in the school environment. The microsystem. Indoor learning has been criticised for lacking opportunities for creativity by several researchers such as Education Scotland and Bajorge et al. One reason for this is that the regimented and structured nature of the indoors creates an environment that limits children's assimilation of learning because, as Piaget points out, children need to adapt structures in order to make sense of new information or concepts. A solution to this lack of engagement is to spend more time in the outdoor environment. Maillard and Waters suggest that the development of knowledge, concepts, and skills from across the curriculum are embedded within authentic, purposeful, and often real-life tasks. For example, climbing trees, making dens, and sorting objects. One advantage, according to Blackwell, is it provides a perfect context for collaborative group activities and risky play. The benefit of this is explored by Veska et al., who found it gives children the skills to manage their own risk, in turn boosting their resilience and self-esteem. Through this confidence, the aversion to failure can be challenged, which one might suggest can positively impact their mindset and thus, as Dweck suggests, their creative development. Additionally, as reported by Vertorf and White et al., the highly sensory and child-led nature of the outdoors supports child-owned investigations. This is because the child-led activities enable children to freely follow their interests, both physically and mentally, which is a key motivator to creative learning. Furthermore, as Borge reports, this freedom provides valuable opportunities for children to question and involve themselves in challenging experiences, learning to reflect critically on their own ideas, actions, and outcomes. However, one criticism is that simply spending more time outdoors may not be practical for all settings due to barriers such as diminishing outdoor space. One solution is for lessons and resources to be brought from the outdoor environment to the indoor environment, leading to an indoor environment which encourages creativity through a highly sensory and open-ended materials, and a child-led approach as encouraged by the Early Years Matters curriculum. The exosystem. Policy has a great impact on education. For example, in the Early Years Matters curriculum, creating and thinking critically is highlighted as a characteristic of effective learning, which are critical to the development of creativity according to the competential theory of creativity by Anne Bell. One advantage of this curriculum is it gives clear instructions on how to promote this on 3 levels: the individual child, positive relationships, and enabling environments. The effect of such targeted guidance and policy, as suggested by Cerner, is that it standardizes best practice. In contrast, the national curriculum mentions creative and creativity 23 times. Despite this continual mention of creativity, Graham and Tyler criticize it for offering teachers inadequate practical guidance. Dixon and Troman have suggested there is significant conflict between policy and practice within the education system, which, as Tishman indicates, not only leads to significant tension between subject matter and providing opportunities for creativity, but according to Graft and Jeffrey, contributes to a climate of fear or curricular chaos, which hinders teachers' attitudes and understandings of creativity, consequently contributing to a teaching culture that instills high importance of creativity, but low implementation within the classroom. We can see the impact this has on the classroom environment when considering the impact the role of the teacher has on children's creative development. The microsystem. The daily interactions between teachers and their students are pivotal to encouraging creativity because, as Vygotsky highlights, learning is an inherently social process. One potential barrier to this is the teacher style of teaching, such as the authoritarian style of teaching. Brisker and Kaladja-Kaspova proposes it is associated with the avoidance of responsibility about creative decisions, which negatively impacts creative opportunities and provision. It is a common style due to teachers finding it convenient and comfortable. One solution is to challenge this lack of social esteem by encouraging teachers to challenge themselves to use new tools that promote creativity, such as cross possibility thinking. Possibility thinking is the means by which questions are posed through multiple ways of generation of question what if, for example, posing questions, play, immersion, and innovation. These tools are beneficial to creativity because they encourage open-ended dialogue between teacher and the student. The effect of this proposed by Long and Golden is a student-centered approach and a personal teaching style. This gives the child a sense of responsibility and a purpose as proposed by Belmont. This is important because both teacher and learner are responsible for the learning process, and giving children control over their own learning encourages essential cooperation within social exchanges, which Vygotsky suggests is vital for the building of new creative schemas and construction of knowledge. However, it is important that these approaches are adapted to the individual's needs because, as Grasher points out, there must be an overlap between a teaching style and a learning style. Otherwise, children will feel uncomfortable to take risks and therefore limit the student engagement within creative opportunities.
In conclusion, as Broffenbrenner suggests, in order for creative development to be enabled, systematic change has to occur at all levels. For example, within the microsystem, providing outdoor learning opportunities and possibility thinking can overcome barriers such as structure and teacher attitude. However, in order for this practice to be standardized throughout the UK, policy must be changed to provide clear guidance and teacher training. Furthermore, activities must be adapted to the individual child to ensure creative inclusion.